for more on the EV market in China. Let's bring in Karl Brauer. He's the executive analyst for iSeeCars.com. Karl, thanks for joining us.
Great to be on with you.
Well, we know that Tesla has certainly made the commitment to China. Elon Musk there just a few weeks ago. And now we're hearing about these other two companies, Fisker and Lucid, also moving to China. Talk to us about the motivation behind that move and why they're heading there.
Yeah, if you're an electric vehicle producer, you really need to be in China. That's the largest market, of course, not just for regular cars, but for electric vehicles as well. They make up about a third of the sales in the 26, 27 million range that are being sold in China. If you're especially a young, growing electric vehicle producer, you've got to put a position into China and have an ability to produce and sell cars there eventually.
We know that China also has its own domestic brands of EVs, and we're seeing other foreign brands there. What are you seeing as far as what Chinese consumers want? What are they looking for? And when it comes to features, is it just like any other car? Maybe it's a style, or maybe it's the distance. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think for electric vehicle operators, it's still a big focus on range, because even though you can find a pretty good infrastructure in China and it's growing rapidly, it's still a timely element, and you've got to commit to the time to recharge a vehicle versus the 5 to 10 minutes it takes to refuel. So range is usually the biggest consideration for people. I also think people in China are starting to appreciate more of the newer Chinese products. We're seeing them buy more of them. I think Tesla's having to fight a little harder, and they're losing some of their dominance in the market. They're still the best-selling car there, but not by the percentage they used to be. And we're seeing some of these other companies really grow that are domestic China EV automakers. So I think people in China are starting to appreciate some of the homegrown products more.
And do you think we could ever see some of those Chinese brands in the West, in the United States? I know they're in other parts of the world, but talk about the future of Chinese EVs around the world.
Yeah, they're certainly being successfully imported into other countries. You know, Europe, they're starting to show up there more dominant there. I think we're seeing them in other continents too. It's tough for the U.S. because there's a 27.5% tariff for Chinese cars and electric cars coming in. But what China's able to do is they're able to have subsidiaries like Geely, and they have things like the Polestar 2, which is being sold successfully in the U.S. now, and there's going to be a Lotus coming next year. So they aren't Chinese brands, but they are Chinese-owned and Chinese-constructed vehicles. And we're going to probably see more of that. What we might see, though, is more of this kind of collaboration with automakers like Stellantis and Renault, who have a footprint in the U.S. already, and they might just come in as rebranded cars that don't have Chinese names, kind of like the Polestar and the Lotus already.
All right, some exciting times ahead. Karl Brauer, thank you so much for joining us from California.